Hey, hello, and welcome to today's webinar. We're excited to have you join us as we explore an important partnership between Novacoast and Votiro. Votiro's data detection and response solution both eliminate hidden malware threats and mask sensitive data files and content. The masking is what we will be focusing on today. Votiro's technology allows organizations to safely process incoming files from untrusted sources and eliminates the security risk before they can reach your system, and ensures privacy of sensitive data in motion. That's what's key. So, we're looking at data that's moving within your environment, mitigating the threat before it gets there. Here at Novacoast, we offer a range of professional services that can help organizations integrate Votiro's solution into their existing infrastructure. Our team provides we provide services as far as deployment. We do optimization, ongoing support. We can help you manage this solution. So today we'll dive into how Votiro's capabilities work in tandem with Novacoast services to give you a complete solution that is secure and compliant. So again, we appreciate you all joining today. We have a really excellent Votiro team today who will lead our webinar. So let's get started. Thank you.
Great. Ed, thanks for the introduction to Votiro. So my name is John Perales. I'm the Director of Sales for Votiro, based out of Cold Brist, Texas. And alongside me is our Senior Sales Engineer, Michael Bowen, who's also based out of the central region of Oklahoma here in Texas. So a couple of slides this afternoon, and thank you again for sharing your lunch with us today. So let's talk about and kind of just expand on what Ed kind of shared with us at the start of the call here. So who is Votiro? Well, if you remember anything that we say today, remember these three things. We do three things effectively. One is we're able to discover private data in motion as well as at rest. Our unfair advantage in the market is that we can also proactively mask that data as it is in motion and as well as it is in rest. And then our platform also has a third gen solution where we're able to remove unknown file-borne threats in unstructured data. And the unknown is a bold word to say, but nevertheless, Michael Bowen here in his demo will kind of share with you how that works. When you think about what we solve for, if you look at the left-hand side of this slide, the things that we're hearing from security professionals, leaders, is the three W's. Where's my data? Who has my data, and where is it going? And they're usually worried about that because of potential current breach they may be trying to kind of rectify, or they're trying to mitigate insider threats and third-party risk. In some cases, they may be also trying to adhere to some compliance requirements. The second big bullet point is organizations today continually look to see how they can develop automation tools to reduce the amount of resources and time that security teams invest in being able to protect an environment. And then last but not least is further hardening their environments from a zero-day attack, because as we all know, as AI continues to move through our organization, that could be a huge risk for a lot of teams. If you look at the right side of this slide, 80% of all unstructured data today is being transacted in a variety of different channels that your organization today has, whether it be email, which is table stakes, or collaboration tools like Teams or Slack, or file sharing platforms like File Cloud or SharePoint or Box, data lakes, data management tools. On the right-hand side of the screen, portals where either vendors, partners, other financial institutions are uploading documents into your environment. And then at the very bottom, when you think about how the world is evolving in terms of all data for the most part may live in a cloud using SaaS applications, how that data is transacted, whether it's uploaded or downloaded, even through a remote browser kind of instance. So logically, let me share with you kind of what the platform will do. But again, the proof will be in the pudding when Michael takes over and does the demonstration here. So let's suppose for a moment that we received a Word document. Now, our AI and machine learning engine is an expert at over 200 different file types. Very quickly, we're going to be able to look at the file components in the file structures to determine, was there a component that was added that should not have been there, or has something been skewed in terms of the file extensions to try to fool systems. In that same breath, we're also able to identify private data based on either user or group policies for PII, PCI, or even PHI. Once we've done that, we will copy all the positive of that file and put that into a new template and send that on to the end user. What the end user will receive is a exact copy of that original file with potential private data being masked, if they don't have the right permissions, or a removal of any potential unknown file-borne threat that could cause a zero-day attack. Now, this will all make sense here once I turn this over to Mr. Bowen and he can run his demonstration. So let me go ahead and stop sharing here now and have Mr. Bowen take this over.
All right, thank you. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through a couple different scenarios, a couple different file channels that we cover. Again, like John said, we cover over 200 different file types. We cover a number of native file channels, including the Microsoft Office suite. So Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, things like that. We also have native integrations with third-party tools like Amazon S3 buckets or Box. We also have an API-driven piece of the platform that allows us to integrate with third-party apps, custom applications, things like that. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to show you a sample file. In this case, we have a credit application. Embedded inside of this credit application is a zip file. And inside of this zip file is some scripting that can launch malicious activities on the system. You notice also that this credit application has a number of bits of sensitive information, for instance, social security numbers, things like that. So I'm going to take this file and I'm going to share that via Teams. So I've got my Teams loaded over here. I'm going to pull up my admin, and I want to say, hey, Mr. Admin, can you take a look at this document I received and let me know what you think. So obviously this is going to be sent through Teams. Again, the user that's sending this could be an internal user, an outside user, etc. But I've sent this file over to my admin. In the background, Votiro saw this process. It grabbed this document. It went through the process that John outlined where we break it down into different bits. We search all of the content. We look for unknown objects. Then we put it back together and we deliver it back to the same location where it originally was. If this was coming through email or something like that, the sanitized copy would be delivered to the end user. It depends on the file channel, but in the background, we took this file apart and we put it back together. So if I go over to my application, I can see that that document was pulled up in the events. It took 1 second to process. So I'm going to take a quick look at that document and we can see all the stuff we did to it. As you see, we've got the document here. It was broken down into all of its subcomponents and objects that are part of a document file. Embedded inside of that document, we found this credit zip file, and there was actually a malicious exe inside of that. Based on our policies, we said that this is a suspicious object. We don't know what it is for sure, but because we're a positive selection engine, we only pass through known good objects and leave behind unknown objects. That allows us to remove both known and unknown malicious objects embedded inside of files. At the same time that we did that, we scanned the entire content of the file and we found a number of bits of personal information that we have defined based on policies. And then our policy also, we've said that we don't want Social Security numbers to be saved inside of Word documents or whatever document may be processed. So we mask that that information out. If we go back over to the file and we take a look at that file, we will see that as soon as it opens, we will see that that file came through and we actually masked out in real time that Social Security number. The rest of the information in the file is intact. The file is usable in its native Word format so that the user that received this file can continue to manipulate it, do whatever they need to, continue with their business processes without being blocked like your typical DLP solution might do. So again, that happened in real time through Teams. It works across multiple other platforms as well. And it's a really great way to secure files coming through collaboration platforms or other file channels. Like I mentioned before, we also have a very unique ability with our APIs to be able to deliver our sanitization capabilities through third-party applications. In this case, what I've done is I've taken our APIs and I've integrated it with a remote browser isolation platform known as Menlo. Menlo secures browsers. It prevents malicious activity in a browser from affecting your system by isolating the web sessions to an alternate location that is not on my system. If you can see down here in the bottom right, you can see this page is being isolated, which means it's being rendered elsewhere, but it's visible on my system. I have a resume. In this case, we're looking at if this could be any SaaS application. In this case, it's a Dropbox where I'm going to go download a file. If I look at this file and take a quick gander at it, I can see it's a resume. There is actually malicious content embedded inside of this zip. And again, like I said, with sensitive information, there is a Social Security number embedded in this file. If I were to download this from a web portal, that malicious content could potentially enter my environment because it's an unknown malicious object. Menlo went ahead and scanned that file. And if we go over to our platform and go back to our events, we can see that that resume came through. It was scanned by Votiro. I look at the full details of it. I can see, again, breaking down of all of the objects and that embedded zip file in there with some suspicious script files that we blocked. The end user is able to take that file, download it, and then open it inside of their system. And of course, now that we've made that file safe, they can bring it down from the web, and it's removed of all malicious content as it came in. If I pull this file over to my screen here, sorry, my Zoom is in the way. If I pull this file over to my screen, I can see that malicious object was removed from this zip. The sensitive information was blocked out. Another very unique part of Menlo is it can also help sanitized uploads. So in this instance, I have a Excel spreadsheet. Consider this might be an insider in your organization, someone that's trying to exfiltrate sensitive content. So I have a spreadsheet of a bunch of Social Security numbers and a bunch of credit card numbers. And as an insider, I'm trying to get this out to my personal Dropbox. I want to, take this content before I leave the company. Who knows? But sensitive information being exfiltrated by insiders is a very real threat. So I'm going to take that document, and in this case, I'm going to actually upload it out to Dropbox, thinking I'm going to get away with exfiltrating this data before I leave the company. That file was uploaded to Dropbox, but it went through the Votiro platform first. And if I take a look at the file, as it loads the preview, you can see that I actually removed that sensitive information on the upload because I have secured the browser and secured the uploads using a combination of Menlo and Votiro through our API integrations. It's a very, very great capability to prevent your users from exfiltrating data to any SaaS application or website. On top of the 200 different file types that we support, We also have support for a very unique workflow, and that is with encrypted files or password protected files. Obviously, password protected files are a way that um, users or malicious users can get information through uh, security tools because that file is encrypted. It is not accessible for security tools to be able to see what's inside of it. So you typically have two options when it comes to a password protected file. You can block them completely, or you can allow them through, report on them, and hope that there's nothing sensitive or malicious inside of that file. But with Votiro, we're able to actually create a user-driven workflow that can scan these files, block them, remove sensitive content, remove malicious content from those files. So in this case, I uploaded this to OneDrive, and I'm going to use my static scan to scan this, but and this can be done on demand as it happens, or dynamically, I should say. But to emphasize this, I just want to show you how this sensitive and malicious content can be removed from a password protected zip file. So that file was scanned. Again, it would have been scanned in real time if I had that enabled in the platform. But if I go back over here and I refresh the page, you can see that that zip file was actually replaced with a placeholder PDF. This is something that tells the end user, hey, before we allow this to happen, I need you to provide a password so that I can open this file, view it, make sure this content is safe. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to click the password, and I'm going to use my super secret 12345 password, and I'm going to release it. So that in the background, Votiro got that password, opened the zip file up, scanned all of the contents of that file, including any embedded objects, etc., placed the information back into a zip, re-encrypted it, and placed it back in its original location. So after going through that process, I refreshed, and I can see that my zip is back in the exact same location. If I go back over and I look at the contents of what happened there and the events that happened, that encrypted file, first it came through and we blocked it because it was a password protected file. The user provided the password and we were able to then scan it fully, and we open this up and we can see that inside of that zip, we scanned the document. Inside of that document, we scanned a bin object. Inside of that was a zip. And inside of that was an exe that creates or does malicious activities. So we're able to do all of that without IT getting involved, without having to create trouble tickets, taking safe, or excuse me, encrypted files and making them safe. So it's a great platform. It's able to do these capabilities across all these different channels and file types. We also are able to look at the threat analytics around who's getting what files, what types of information is being transacted inside of those as far as malicious content. If you're looking for your privacy and compliance features, we can tell you which users are receiving and transacting privacy data, what types of data is in those, what file channels it's coming across. This is all available in reporting that you can export and take to other products or other solutions to do deeper investigations. Every one of these widgets is clickable, so I can see every file that Mr. Bowen has sent that had sensitive information in them. And it's a great way to keep control of your sensitive information, prevent malicious content from coming in and leaving, well, coming into your organization primarily. If you're sending out malicious content, that's probably another story. But we can protect private data across multiple file channels. John, do you have anything else?
No, that was great, Michael. Can you just spend 1 minute on the data privacy policies, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So again, like I said, our policies are able to be created based on file channel. We have the ability to look at these policies. So in this instance, I have a privacy playbook where I have decided to find and detect all of these checked bits of information. Once I've picked the information that I want to detect and report, then I can pick out which information I don't want to be shared or be able to be stored inside these files, and it will remove that information from those files by masking it out as I showed you. These obviously, we can do this at the file channel level, but at the same time, instead of just applying this to every person in your organization, I can create exceptions where if I pick a certain group, for instance, my HR group, and I want that user or anybody in HR to have a different set of policies applied to them. In this case, human resources. Right now, they get every file free and clear if they're in the human resources. If I create a different policy and I want to report on all these bits of information, I can do that. And then because they're HR, they probably need to see some of this sensitive information. So I'm going to choose to not actually mask it out. So I've chosen that. I've moved through the process, and now I have the human resources, anybody in human resources that gets this file through Microsoft Teams, I will detect this information, but I won't mask it. So you have granular control over which groups and users in your environment can see which types of sensitive information across different channels. So it gives you full control over private data flowing in and out of your organization and around the inside of it.
Right, right. I think there was a question in the chat box from Ed with regards to Menlo and browser kind of requirements. Michael, can you touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Menlo works because it's a remote browsing instance. What it does is it redirects any browser session, whether it be Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, any of the primary browsers. It will redirect those sessions to a remote session, and any of the capabilities of Votiro mixed with Menlo can happen with those browsers. There's even a for unmanaged devices where you don't have control over the actual application or the browser, there is also a browser plugin that can be added that does the same capabilities. So if you have outside contractors, you can require them to use the plugin, and then that way they get that same protected browser sessions using Menlo.
I think that's a really big deal because the competitive solutions that are out there tie you to a single browser. So the ability to sort of work with whatever your environment supports, that's a big deal.
Exactly.
It is very, very big deal. It's browser-based threats are a major factor in any organization.
Michael, some of the questions that we always hear or answer is, what happens to macros on Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have policies for data, sensitive data. We also have different policies that protect the different types of files and malicious content. So we apply a top level policy. This applies to all file types, anything in this section. So the very first thing we do is we go ahead and do a virus scan. Virus scan is needed, but that's not where we focus. We apply a virus scan first thing to any file just to see if there's known content. That's very common. Anybody can do a virus scan, but that's the very first thing we do because there's no reason to go any further if it does have a known virus. The next thing we do is we true type files. So instead of looking at the file extension, we actually look at the content of the file and true type it to the actual file it is. So if someone's trying to hide an exe as a PDF, well, we're going to find out that it's a binary and not a PDF and treat it appropriately. We have that password protected workflow that I showed you already. And then we have some other cases if you want to just simply block files above a certain type or complex files that are nested 20 layers deep. So like John said, when it comes to macros can be embedded inside Office documents. So we have the ability to handle macros differently depending on your choices. We can simply remove all macros. That obviously will render all of the active content null, but many people need to use macros in their organization, especially with Excel spreadsheets and things like that. So we can actually remove only the suspicious macros. We're able to look at what macros do, the behaviors they're partaking in, and we can actually determine if a macro is a suspicious macro or doing something that it should not do or that's not normal. And so you can remove those specific macros while leaving the rest of them active and keeping the file able to be used in the manner that the person that wrote the file wants it to behave. At the same time, we do URL reputation services. We can scan and find suspicious links to known malicious websites, and we can remove them. We can mask them out. We can simply block them. So we have a lot of customization that happens with the ability to handle different file types. Same thing, PDFs, right? PDFs can have suspicious URLs embedded inside of them. They can have JavaScript embedded inside of them. We do the same thing to JavaScript as we do to macros, where we look at the content of the JavaScript, what its actions are, and we can take different actions based on those behaviors. So it's very customizable. Again, you can have exceptions. If you have, for instance, a certain user group that does a lot of macros, you can set a different set of use cases for admins where I don't want to remove the scripts. Or maybe you want some part of your organization to just have content but no active content. So I can just remove all scripts for those users. Very customizable based on users and groups and different file types.
Great. I started the discussion talking about doing three things, right? Identifying private data, masking that private data in transit as well as at rest, and removing any potential unknown file-borne threats for unstructured data. And hopefully today you've been able to see that. There is a question with regards to maintenance, the overhead required to manage this. As a whole, our goal at Votiro is to allow the flow of data to be sent free of any potential risk. Additionally, being able to mask that private data to remove the risk of a breach internally or externally of private data. The unique part of this platform is that once we are able to develop the policies and the groups of what you want monitored and who you want to remove from privacy, being able to receive privacy data, it's not a Ron Pompei solution where you set it and forget it, but it's a very low touch solution. This platform can be connected to a SIM if needed to be able to get specific alerts that a user may need. But for the most part, once it's once policies are developed, once it's onboarded, then at that point the platform will run on itself and protect your private data. Ed?
Thanks, John. I want to thank everybody for joining the webinar today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We can, the Votiro team has their technical people on as well. So please put a hand up. In the meantime, I don't know. I think you can see how this would complement any DLP program. If you have DLP already set up in your environment, here's a way to really make it granular and take it a step further. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to me here at Novacoast. We can pull in the Votiro folks at any point. They're offering to help Novacoast do assessments so we can show you what the benefits of a solution deployment would look like. So we would be excited to do that as well. Also, we are recording this. So if you would like to share this with associates that you have or anyone, please let me know. And again, thank you very much for joining. Appreciate it.